مش عارف عم تسمع الموضوع ولا لا. It's
والله يا
really
شيخ من مش you cannot tell which news is worse than the other يعني. يعني destruction, displacement, killing people under the rebel, under the what they call the rebel. What do they call
Rebels.
rubble.
Rebels. Yeah.
rebels, and it's and no end in sight. It's going nowhere. يعني. And as I mentioned before, it's a zero-sum game. يعني, the deadlock, and there is nobody to facilitate an end to this. Unfortunately.
In my opinion, the longer it goes, the worse it is for Israel. Of course, our losses of human lives are tremendous, and the only way to look at it is that those people are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala right now, and the problem is with those who are left with us. What is it that we are going to be able to do to help? Because this situation is perpetual. It keeps happening every once in a while, and we need to put an end to it.
Anna, I also think that we need to be really more sensitive to. I know you are. I know, but what I sensed in the Muslim world, people are not really very sensitive to human lives. Yani, they think it's worth it. 22,000, 23, 24. So they start counting by the thousands. I don't like that. And we should not really, I mean, if somebody else or if others consider the Muslim life or human life in general cheap, and we should not do the same mistake. Every life counts. Every life has loved ones, memories, hopes, future, and all of that was destroyed. I think we need to change our mindset. And yes, resistance, very legitimate, but there should be planning and calculations. And in those calculations, the human life should be included. You should not be saying it's okay if we lose 100,000, 50,000, it's okay. No, we should not. I believe that this idea should change. And in the future, every action, they should factor in the human losses, because shouldn't be taken lightly. I know that, but that's the idea, this idea that the fact that they are martyrs, it doesn't mean that it's okay to die, or it's okay to die in thousands. No, I'm not saying you said this. No, I'm saying that unfortunately in some circles in the Muslim world, that's the language. The language is numbers do not matter because they are martyrs and because this is resistance, and therefore the numbers do not matter. No, they do matter.
Yeah, every life matters. There is no doubt about that. But Doctor, let's look at the alternative. I was 4 years old when I saw the first refugees coming to Lebanon. And this problem been living with me, eating with me in my plates 3 times a day, all my life, throughout my life. I resisted Israel physically. I resisted their occupation of Lebanon, their intrusion into Lebanon, because Palestine wasn't the only target, and it's still not the only target. They're targeting from the Euphrates to the Nile. And they're saying this. It's not now hearsay. It's not alleged books. It is what their leaders are talking about. So what's the alternative? Would Gaza continue? I mean, if Hamas didn't do what they did on the 7th of October, they were under siege. Nothing was allowed to go in properly. No food, no medication, nothing. Are they supposed to live that kind of life and that will be okay? That's not life. It had no quality. Gaza was an open prison. It's their choice whether they wanted to live or not live under these circumstances. And they chose to resist, not to live.
Yeah, but yeah, you know that even in Islam there is fiqh al-ma'alat, the consequences. The consequences determines what you can do, what you cannot do. It's not like legitimate is enough. Consequences. If we consider the consequences, the life that you described was terrible.
Yes.
But life now is worse. Is much worse.
Until liberation. I am saying today in public, this is the first step toward liberation. If it wasn't going to end with liberation, then it's not worth it. If
But
it's going to end with liberation, that my life would be the first one I'm ready to give for this purpose to happen. Unfortunately, I'm not living there anymore. But I cry every time someone dies because I'm not there with them. I'm not there next to them. But this is the way it is.
But Dr. Safi, is this going toward liberation?
Yes, it is.
Yani
Israel already lost. Let me mention to you some few things that I see. Then we'll take it from there. First of all, I am counting and writing down a list of all the Israelis that are speaking against their government. Those people are allies for us, and we need to stay in touch with them. And I'm doing that. Number two, Netanyahu is extending this because you know, as well as the whole world know, the minute it stops, he's going to go to jail. I'm waiting to hear any time now that the government failed, changed, and a better government is taking place. If that happened, then we are one step closer to changing that whole situation. We're in touch with people at the State Department, with Congress, with Senates, but mostly people at the State Department that can see that this present status quo will not lead to the best interest of the United States or the best interest of Israel. Of course, it's working against the best interest of Palestine. We cannot just sit and talk about it. We need to be doing something. And we are strategically located in the United States, in the Washington, D.C. area, to work. If we're not doing this kind of work, then we are just talking. We need to go to the State Department, knock on door, try to find friends, try to go and talk to them, try to explain that we care about both sides. We care about the United States' best interest, about the Israeli children, and about the Palestinian children. There is no equivalency here, but we care about all these people. Because our religion tells us to worry about all these people and to care for them. And
I see all of that, Dr. Safi. I don't disagree at all. I'm saying there is another part of the picture that we have to see. That who's going to rebuild Gaza now? And those losses of lives and losses of, because there will be thousands and maybe even more of people who are handicapped coming out of this, traumatized. And there will be maybe hundreds of thousands of people who are displaced and homeless, refugee again.
Yes.
So to go back to that life that you described as terrible, which I agree, when people are besieged in Gaza, now we're going to have to work so hard to go back there, to go back to that point. All what I'm saying is this idea that is prevalent in the Muslim world, that it's okay if we die by the thousands or by the tens of thousands or by the hundreds of thousands, if the cause is legitimate, we need to review it. We need to revisit it, because the Prophet himself, he never spared any effort to advance his cause and minimize the losses.
Yes.
He never pushed his people to, and we all know that he praised Khalid ibn Walid when he withdrew, when Khalid ibn Walid realized that they're going to be exterminated in a battle, and then he managed to withdraw safely. And then he was received in Medina by people who were really cursing the army, the Muslim army, because they fled the battlefield. And the Rasul said, no, that was the right thing to do. He saved a lot of lives. Yeah. So all what I'm saying is that angle has to be present, because what I have seen, some miscalculations, I can tell you, give you some few miscalculations. One, was based on the fact that Israel will not bombard Gaza if we have so many hostages. That turns out to be miscalculations. Number two, because they're not gonna kill their hostages, and that's not true.
Yeah, yeah.
These people, they can kill anybody.
Yes.
Number two, the Hezbollah and the other Irani proxy, they're going to wage wars and they're going to open fronts, and it did not happen. That's, I think, miscalculations. And they said it, actually. The leader of Hamas said, we were disappointed. We expected a lot more from Hezbollah, and we are disappointed. So that's, everybody who knows Iran knows that they're very shrewd politicians. They can use you, but they cannot work for you. They can utilize you, but they're not ready to sacrifice for your own agenda, only for their own agenda. So all what I'm saying is that we need to learn our lessons. This is what Quran teaches us, is everything that happens, learn lessons from it. Let's not get into everything we do was okay, everything was right. No, it's not. Where after everything settles, people have to sit down. What went right? What went wrong? What are the lessons learned for the future? How we can avoid any or minimize miscalculations in the future.
Yes,
So
you
that's
said
all
when
I'm saying.
everything-
I mean, we are not in disagreement in the legitimate cause. All what I'm saying is that the planning, considering different options, should be on the table, and the human lives should not be taken lightly. Don't tell me because my cause is legitimate, it doesn't matter how many people die. No.
No one will say that. No one will say
Safi,
that.
let me ask you a question. Which
Go ahead.
easier for the Department of State to solve the Syrian issue or the Israeli issue? But Israeli-Palestinian issue.
Yes, let me answer you. It's a brutal answer I'm going to give you. Right now, 80% of young Americans are pro-Palestinians.
Doesn't matter.
It does matter a lot. Public opinion matters in the United States. Right now, there is a pressure from youth against those who will be running for election. The Syrians need to do what the Palestinians are doing before the public opinion lean toward them or even bother to know what the problem is. I know what the problem is in Syria, but I don't matter alone. Right now, we have social media taking over all the news, and it is all pro-Palestinians. We don't have anybody pro-Syrians. Today, the State Department will pay much more attention to end the Palestinian problem because it's a public issue. Syrian is not. It's hidden, and it is, I'm sorry to say, hidden under the rug right now.
Okay, why you think...
Under the rug.
Okay, but why the State Department, they don't serve the issue? It's not... Why
I
they
don't... I want to caution against the support that you see. A lot of it, or a good portion of it, is driven by humanitarian. The day the bombardment of Gaza finish, a lot of that support is gonna fade. And the support is not on the political. If you put the political issue, you're not gonna get the same level of support. The support is driven mainly by the pictures and the videos of children being pulled from the rubbles and being killed, and the hospitals being bombarded. A good portion of it. There are people who are aware and they're supporting justice for Palestinian and etc. But this is not the majority. The majority of people are taking to the street. Even their slogan is "Stop the war now." The moment the war stops, number of those people are not they're gonna be busy with other things. But the reason the Palestinian is hot and the Syrian is not, is because of what happens, what people see in the news. It's not because the Palestinian activism. The Syrian activism in the United States is not less than the Palestinian activism, if not even more. I mean, it's equal. The Syrians they have so many organizations. They're paying so much money for to reach out to public officials, and I'm aware of a lot of those activities.
Me too.
But it's not. It's the issue is hot here There are pictures, there are videos. The issue there is not hot.
Yes. And we still in the middle of the battle, aren't we, Dr. Suhail?
Hmm?
I mean, the issue is not over. We're still
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
middle of this war.
Yeah.
So you
All right.
yourself said, well, let's when the dust settles, we need to sit down and learn lessons from what happened. Well, the dust didn't settle yet.
Yeah, yeah. Let's give a
Right
chance
now,
to.
we need to be for the Palestinians
there
against
is no.
that war in
There
totality.
is no. That's not even. There is no question about that.
Yeah.
Let's give the brothers and if we have sisters to
Sure.
chance to either raise an issue, ask questions. It's not like this is not important. This is, of course, is in the mind and the hearts of everybody. But we also want those who are joining to have a chance to either raise an issue or ask questions or suggest something.
Assalamu alaikum. Dr.
Assalam.
Saul, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, Dr. Saul, like you, Dr. Shafi and you both are right, fully and 100%, So, but I like to bring up one thing about 2008, that Libya issue. I was hearing from you. Remember that the little place with Dr. Essam, and there's a the nightly update with the National Security Council for the Libya issues. So at that time, what was the calculation? Why Libya is in, what was the calculation? Was it a miscalculation to work with the bombing plan, or if you can recollect, I think you are there for the Libya campaign the 2008 or so, when Gaddafi was taken out. So what was the calculation then, and what happened till now? It's looks like we're always in miscalculation in every situation, every place. Sorry.
And I agree on the part of miscalculations, and we have a very rich history of miscalculations. Those of you who remember that Iraq was destroyed because of miscalculations, because somebody thought that they can invade Kuwait and nobody will do anything, and that's miscalculations. And also number of other miscalculations. And in general, by principle, I'm against foreign intervention in domestic issues. It has never brought anything good to any country, because if you solicit help from outside, those people are not humanitarian organization or human rights organization. These people, they have an agenda, and they have seen in Libya, for example, they could have taken Gaddafi in no time. There was no need for all that distractions. But that distraction was for another agenda. So by principle, I believe that from the time of Spain or Andalusia, Muslims have always lost big time when they solicit help from outside to solve internal issue or domestic issues. Whether Libya or anywhere else, domestic and national issues have to be solved inside. Soliciting help, we can see now in Syria, for example, it's Iran, it's Russia, it's everybody is playing there, and nobody's coming to help, and neither help the regime or help the opposition. Everybody is coming to pursue their agenda. In Libya, same thing. It was the NATO in the beginning, and then Turkey, and then Egypt, and Emirat. Everybody's involved, and there never something good came out of soliciting help from outside to solve internal and national issues or internal differences. And subhanAllah, a lot of people were aware of this. Even in our history, sometimes people refused offer to help from outside. So That's I don't know that this addressed the point that you raised about Libya, but you cannot solve a mistake by another mistake. You cannot get rid of a dictator by inviting foreign occupation.
May I mention
you.
a couple of other issues
Sure.
related to this subject? I think if we
Sure.
go back to the Battle of Siffin, Ma'arak al-Siffin,
Mhm.
between Imam Ali karramallahu wajhah and Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. I don't think anybody in the Muslim world, there are some unfortunately, who do not believe that Imam Ali was right.
Mhm.
He was the legitimate Khalifa, democratically according to Shura elected, and Muawiyah was the rebellious wali basically. But because of heavy losses in the Battle of Siffin, Imam Ali, karramallahu wajhah, and I'm not a historian to say that they were about to win or not, he decided because of the very heavy human casualties to come to arbitration, basically. That's the word, arbitration. And that turned out to be a disaster in human history, in Muslim history, by the way. I mean, I don't say that Imam Ali was wrong. Absolutely not. Who am I to say that? But that led to the loss of Khilafah Rashida, to the beginning of Al-Umayyin, Abbasiyin, etc. I think in the long run, if we look at it, maybe I would say it probably was a better idea to keep fighting until truth is defended and became victorious. But again, who am I to decide? Imam Ali decided and he was right. This is one good example to study and to look at. The other example would be the Algerians and the Vietnamese. I mean, when they decided to resist the occupation of the French and the Americans, we can all argue that this was a miscalculation because it was millions who were killed by the French and by the Americans. But at the time, they decided, no, the price of freedom is worth it. Again, I'm not saying they were right, they were wrong. I'm just saying, if we looked at precedents in history, I have to stand on the line in the middle, you know, is it worth it or is it not worth it? You know, what is the price of freedom? I understand that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says that, you know, the life of one Muslim, one mu'min is worth much more than the Kaaba itself. And I think that's a good hadith. So yes, we all cry for the loss of human lives, but I don't think we are in a position to start questioning what Hamas did now. But I agree with you, when the dust starts settling, I'm sure they will do this exercise, and I trust them. And I'm not at all against what we are discussing as, you know, what is a proper price to pay for freedom? It's just a very difficult issue. Thank you.
That's all what I'm saying. And I'm not saying it's an easy decision or either way. I'm saying it has to be debated, and people have to consider all angles and should not take the losses of human lives as something that is okay, only when it is worth it, and it should be by the one life, not by the thousands. We shouldn't say if we lose 10 or 20,000 is okay, and we should never say that. So everything should be considered, and don't be so sure, because our history says that we never do that evaluation, that assessment. We never do it, and we never hold our leaders accountable. I hope that this time will be the exception, but our history does not indicate that. That's why mistakes keeps repeating, and that's at the level of parties, at the level of state, countries, nations, whatever. I didn't see that exercise done properly, that there is a committee, independent committee, to investigate what happened and to come up with a report to say, this is what happened, and that's what went wrong, and those are the ones responsible. I didn't see it happen.
The Israelis do that. And I think we should do that. The
very
Palestinians should do it
important.
this time as well. They
It's,
should do
it's
that.
very unfortunate. Yes, they do it. And they held their prime ministers accountable for failures. And they're going to do it again with this one. But we really have, because that's from the heart of our religion. قُلُوبٌ عِنْدِ أَنفُسِكُمْ. You have to only look inside to find out. But again, it doesn't make me optimistic that this is going to happen, but I still hope that this will be the exception. We never do that in history. That's why we have presidents for life, head of parties for life, even though they can commit disasters. There was no accountability and no assessment or taqeem or evaluation. And I believe that's one of the main factors. Some nations are advanced because they do that. They plan, they document, they evaluate, and they hold responsible people accountable. And that cycle makes a huge difference, because that's how you grow, because you learn lessons and then you move forward. At least that mistake, you don't repeat it again. And then whoever committed, you hear this all the time in this country. When something goes wrong, what they say, there are some heads that are gonna roll, right? Whether it is a company, whether it is whatever, at any level, people here will tell you they know that some heads are going to roll, because there will be an investigation or assessment, and then they will find out who did anything wrong or responsible for that failure, and they were gonna hold them accountable. This is something that we learn. SubhanAllah, Quran teaches us this. Quran, after every incident in the time of Rasul ﷺ, was revealed to do this exercise, to tell them what went right, what went wrong, what are the lessons, whether it was after the Battle of Badr, whether it was after the Battle of Uhud, etc. It's always, Quran will be revealed to do that assessment, which I believe was a training for Muslims to start doing it even after Quran, even after the Prophet dies and no more Quran revealed. It was like priming them or training them. That's what you should do all the time. After the dust settle, you have to sit down and evaluate and see what lessons you learn moving forward. Actually, Quran tells us even to learn from others. Whether لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ, there were lessons in their stories. Whether people in history or people who are living now, contemporary people, we should really, ideally, we should learn lessons even from the experience of others. Minimum is to learn lessons from our own experiences. Any other thoughts, questions, suggestions? Muhammad is quiet today.
May I have a question?
I'm trying.
Hamid.
Muhammad Hamid. Oh, this is Muhammad Samamra.
Even Muhammad Samamra, both of you,
Muhammad,
both are quiet.
Muhammad Hamid, I think he's very tired. I don't know. I'm just saying this. I'm just saying this from my house.
Yeah, both of you are quiet today.
Somehow, I really.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm here.
Assalamu alaikum.
Looking at Adams.
You can go ahead. You can go ahead, brother, since you are coming in.
No, I just want to say I'm here.
Oh,
Adams,
please go ahead. I will put my thoughts together for a second.
I don't have any thoughts now. I'm listening to you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank
you.
It's like, truthfully, Doctor, it's like I was listening to Dr. Safi, and somehow in the beginning of the conversation, and I'm not here to take sides, truthfully, I just feel like Dr. Safi, as all of you, because you care, you are more Palestinians than us as Palestinians. So as us who were born there, and that's what I mean it. So please don't take whatever I say in the wrong way. But somehow I was kind of like laying towards Dr. Safi's opinions, because this is my opinion from the beginning as well. It's like from the first day of this conflict, from the first day of this issue, I didn't want to discuss like if this was a mistake. And I have some questions just to towards that opinion, which is the first one would be, if we roll back and instead of October 7th, today is October 11th, and Israel hit and bombed Gaza, after what would we look at that and how we would translate and how we would question ourselves about that? If Hamas and the Muqawama, not Hamas only, the Muqawama in Gaza did not do what they did, and they waited another 4 days and they're being bombed from Israelis, how we would have reacted to that. So this is one question. And I'm assuming you know what I mean by this, because if Hamas got information that would have happened and they had that in plan. The second thing, and it's a second question, I don't know what other preparation, because God told us to prepare as much as we can. وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُم مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. He didn't say to be stronger than them. The second question in here, in relative to this, it's like what else Hamas would have, or the Muqawama in Gaza could have done in the circumstances where they living, that could have helped this to have a different result and have us to look at this in a different opinion or in a different perspective. The third question is, before any of this happened, the people in Gaza lived under siege for, if not 20 years, let's say 16 years. The Israelis were in control, as Dr. Safi said last week, mentioned it, and others been talking about it. People in Gaza the Israelis been in control of what kind of food comes in and out, and the portion and the diet that kids are raised in Gaza and eating. If we're waited, or the people in Gaza waited more, how is that going to change? Because we don't have food, we don't have water today coming in. You're going to tell me it's worse than it was 3 months ago or 95 days ago. But it's like how you would have, it's like how we would have thought, or what is the other opinion on, or a plan to resolve that issue. The other thing that from the beginning of this conversation, and sorry for taking long, but these are questions that I have myself. From the beginning of this, when we first talked about this, and I stood against what is like against the conversation about Syria, or it's not against the conversation, there was a Syrian issue that came up. And my whole thing is that how many millions and thousands or millions left Syria, and how many thousands istishhadu or died in Syria because of the war before what happened in Gaza last? How many people in Libya? How many people in Iraq? How many people in Turkey? How many people again in Syria died because of the earthquakes and the national disasters? There were thousands, and only within minutes. Not to free country, not to fight for freedom. They died either because of wars against them, people came, invaded them and killed them, or because of natural disasters. And what they gained, it's like people in Libya, they had the money to build Libya, but within an earthquake or a faydan, the whole country destroyed, or the whole place destroyed. It's like where all that money came from, and they didn't have anybody fighting them. It's like there is a lot more into this that we really need to think. And it's like, if finally I need to agree, we all should learn our lessons afterwards. But when things are happening, all of what we should be talking about is like what we can do to help those people, because they are fighting occupation. They're fighting for their freedom. They're fighting for massacre after a massacre that's happening every day. And the numbers doesn't, it's like we are not numbers, and numbers does matter. I do agree, but it's like the Israelis are killing their own hostages. When we say the hostages were taken to free the prisons. The whole invasion of Hamas is to get information. It's like in my mind, if Hamas knew what was happening and what they could have done, I really believe that Hamas would have reached Jerusalem before the Israelis got up to retaliate for what happened. Sorry for taking too long, but this is my
First of all, let me say it's not only Dr. Safi, who is a Palestinian or Palestinian by heart. Since high school and college, we were celebrating. We grow up knowing about all the massacres from Deir Yassin to others, and celebrating every day, every national occasion, including Yawm al-Ard and others. And Sabra Shatila, and you don't even has taken so much, and we've beaten in the streets demonstrating for the Palestinians. So this is in the heart of every Muslim. All what they were saying is that this discussion is great, and we should not go for easy answers and easy solutions. I know that thinking is not convenient. It's really gives you a headache. And easy answers and easy solutions are always much more convenient, comfortable. Now we can say that everything went perfect and whatever was done is great and there was no other options and it could not be better. That's easy. But we should never go that route, because that route, we tried it all our history, that things could not be different, things could not be better, because we did not have a choice. We have been saying this in every issue, including personal, by the way, including in our personal life and time. Always, ليس بالإمكان أحسن مما كان. Whatever happened is the best thing. Why? Because we did not have any other options. We take it lightly, we shouldn't. And I believe this kind of discussion is great. Nobody here said there was an easy answer for the dilemma. Nobody said that Palestinians should accept humiliation and siege, and then accept occupation. Nobody said that. All of these are easy solutions, by the way. All of these are extremes, and they are easy. But this debate is healthy and should take place. And if the companions did not follow the Prophet blindly, whenever he makes a decision that is not a revelation, we should not do it with anybody. We should never say that these people, this group or that group, this political party or Islamic party in Libya, in Tunis, in Egypt, whatever, they know what they're doing, and whatever they have done must be correct. And I'm sure they considered all options, and we're sure that there was no better option. This blind trust of leaders is a mistake that was done by other people with dictators. We should not do it in movements or in parties. We should adopt the approach of the companions with the Prophet. If it is not a revelation, then we have different opinion. Then we can discuss. So that's, I believe, the best approach. And wherever we find ourselves, whether in a mosque or we are following an incident like this, we should never take that route of blind faith, blind trust, blind support of anybody, because that's not the Islamic way. The Islamic way, even if the greatest scholar on earth gives you a fatwa, the best approach is to ask to convince you. Give me what's the evidence, so that we don't end up following people blindly, because that's what other religion or other nation committed mistakes, and Quran cautioned us against that. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam one time was reading the verse from Ma'idah, Surah Al-Ma'idah, اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله والمسيح ابن مريم وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا الله إله الله. So one of the companions who used to be Christian told the Prophet ﷺ, we never worship them. Can you imagine? You recite a verse and someone want to understand. how come this verse saying that we worshiped them, but we did not? And the Prophet explained that worshiping here means following blindly. Your rabbis and priests, you were following them blindly, wherever they take you. And that's وَتِلْكَ عِبَادَتُكُمْ لَهُمْ. That's your worship for them. So I believe we should really train ourselves and practice on critical thinking, on questioning. There is nothing wrong with questioning. There is nothing wrong with evaluation. There is nothing wrong. Nobody is above that. Nobody. And as I said, the Prophet himself, the companions, is this a revelation? If it is not a revelation, then let's discuss it. We have different opinion. So I believe this mistake was done, unfortunately, in most Muslim countries with their dictators. They take their dictators, elevate them to become sacred or idols or whatever. We should never repeat that mistake. You find yourself in a Muslim organization, in a Muslim party, in a Muslim country, led by very pious people. You still should practice that critical thinking and that questioning and convince me why. Was there any other option? Is this the best way? Was this was thought out carefully? Were there any miscalculation? Nothing wrong with this. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we improve. We should do it even with ourselves.
Yes.
I mean, we should review ourselves. When I go to sleep, just review your day. What is it that I did wrong today? What can I learn so that tomorrow I will not repeat it? حاسبوا أنفسكم. Never mind about leaders. And we all know the story of Umar ibn Khattab. Radiallahu anhu. He came out to speak and people stopped him. Say, before you speak, now we took a piece of clothes, all of us. The piece that you took is not enough for you to have this, whatever that you're wearing. And he invited Abdullah ibn Umar to explain, and Abdullah ibn Umar said, I gave him mine. So he combined the two in order to have that, because he was very tall, in order to have that. And then the companion said, now you can speak, we can listen to you. But before that, no. So that's, I think, what we need to revive, especially in future generations. Critical thinking, independent thinking. Don't take anything for granted. Don't follow anybody blindly. By the way, those ISIS and other groups, they took full advantage of this. They recruited a lot of young people because they don't ask questions, because they don't have that critical thinking. So they give them a verse and the hadith, and then they invite them to come to Iraq and fight. Why? Because those young kids don't have any immunity. They don't have that way. So why? No, they don't. You tell them companions, hadith, verse, they follow you. And I think that critical thinking and independent thinking should be really very promoted. Unfortunately, some parents now, until now, they still consider that as disrespect. When their son or daughter tell them why or why not, or convince me, they see it as a sign of disrespect.
May I say something?
Sure.
Actually, for everybody's interest, I think this is one of the healthiest sessions we had.
Yeah.
And thank you, Dr. Suhail, for encouraging us to disagree on some
Absolutely.
issues if disagreement is takes place. But there is no
Healthy.
disagreement here. There is no disagreement. You said we need to look at what happened and question ourselves and question our leaders. I'm 100% with you on this.
That's it.
100% with you on this. You're saying we need to have critical thinking. I'm 1,000,000% with you on this. I think we are in the state we are in because we did not learn when we were young to think critically. We only accepted what was said, and when we questioned those with authority that told us to hush down and be quiet, and they beat us also. I'm not gesturing just to gesture. We all got our fair share of beating. So learning to have critical thinking is very important. If people didn't learn anything from this meeting today, they should learn that this agreement can be healthy. But there are also Islamic limits. There is an Islamic framework that we need to respect. I tremendously respect you, tremendously respect what you're teaching us and this group and the people every Friday. Your efforts are extremely valuable as far as I'm concerned. Allah yabarak feek. And I repeated this last Friday before the khutbah when I was talking to people, reminded them that you always talk about the way parents need to treat their children and how the children need to have space to ask questions. If you don't answer the question that your son asks you, he's going to go and find the answer somewhere else. He will find the answer, but it wouldn't be from you. So, and basically we learned this from you. But let me talk about something. I'm a strategist. So let me tell you why my position was formed the way it is today. I am stating clearly that I thought Hamas was absolutely correct in launching a well-prepared attack against Israel. But I'm not going to talk about the attack itself. I'm going to talk why that attack was timely at the time it was launched for. You all know, and I'm just going to remind you, that the Abrahamic Accords were working very actively. UAE signed an Abrahamic Accord, and the Palestinians weren't even mentioned in that accord. They could have even demanded that some obstacles on the roads that are making the life of the Palestinian checkpoints on the West Bank and Gaza, making the life of Palestinians terrible. A lady that wants to go to treat her cancer, cross from Gaza to an Israeli hospital, can spend days at that checkpoint. People inside the West Bank deliver their babies waiting at the checkpoints, but they were never mentioned in the UAE Abrahamic Accord signed with Israel. Saudi Arabia was about to sign one. And the only thing that stopped that accord was Hamas successful attack against Israel. Historic attack against Israel. That accord is dead at this time. So if I see that everybody is moving forward to normalize relation with Israel and the Palestinians are totally forgotten, I will forget that I am required to live my life. My life at that time would lose its value. My life. I don't know about other people. If I can stop it in any way, I will stop it. So this is basically what happened. The price is extremely high, but that accord would have ended the Palestinian issue once and forever. And Netanyahu, Netan, knew exactly what was going on and was banking on signing that accord because they were about to sign. Alhamdulillah, it didn't happen.
Jazakumullah khair, and I can excuse myself because I have an appointment at 1 o'clock, and I thought we planned it to be from 12 to 1. If we need more time, we probably can start a little early. So,
can I get 1 minute? Only
yes.
1 minute.
Yes.
This whole discussion is excellent. I second the motion, but I think when we are saying we should question it, we should say the people of Gaza, the Palestinians should question because they are the ones. They are the ones paying the price.
You're right.
And Hamas, it was not a dictatorship or even a government. It was part of the people. So yeah, they should be encouraged to question.
What I'm saying,
people, yes, yeah.
What I'm saying, we need to question not Hamas. We need to question what I mentioned. Even wherever you find yourself, leadership of a mosque, leadership of an organization, we need to practice that questioning. Why and why not? And was it a better option, etc. So, Jazakumullah khair.
Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.